A route. God has a route for you. I have a way that nobody has been, a door that nobody's seen, a direction that nobody knows, a place of escape. You search in councils what only I have. You search amongst friends what only I can do. And God is saying, I already have the route, I have the way, I am better than Google Maps. And why? Because the Google Maps gives the time to get there. But if the traffic changes, the time changes. If the traffic changes, the time changes. God is saying, I'll give you a way that you'll get there at the time and the day that I determine. God brought people here today, and what He's saying to you is, what is perfect will come when you recognize where the imperfect is, when you recognize where the immorality is, when you confess where the pain is, when you confess where the addiction is, when you recognize the place you are. Then you see your doors opening to where you want to go. Then you see roads, paved roads to where you want to go. If you understand. So God is saying to someone here, to get to where you want to go, since you've been through what you've been through, survived what you have survived, pay attention to go where you want to go. It's not enough knowing where you want to go. Before saying, I want to go there, you need to know first, recognize where you are here. And many times, many people, there's no lack of capacity to idealize where they want to do, what they want to have, what type of family they want to form, what type of business they want to do, what type of life they want to take. There's no difficulty in people and to project the future. Even the child, when you tell him, when you ask, what do you want to do when you grow up? And she doesn't wait to grow because she doesn't worry about the way. She only tells her where she want to go. Because when you talk about dreams and projects, you talk about future. You don't imagine the traffic. You only imagine yourself getting there. That's why dreaming is possible. That's why having faith is something real and necessary in the life of man. Now, what Tara shows us is to in order to get where you want, it's not enough to know the destiny to where I want to go. It's necessary conditions to recognize where I am. God is saying, what if I tell you man that you're a visionary? What if I tell you woman that you have vision and your maps, sensorial maps, emotional, spiritual, is pointing you to the right place. The destiny is kind of but what if I say that many times you can traffic the place to get there, to that dream, to that conquer, that project, not because you don't know the way to go, but because you don't know, you cannot recognize where you are now. People think that it's enough to know where you want to go, but the same way it is important where you want to get, it's very important to know where you are. Do now recognize where you are now. Recognize, map where you are now. Stop pretending that's where when you're bad. The biblical orientation is that you be truthful. If you're happy, sing, and if you're sad, pray. You have to recognize where you are. Somebody would have put in their head a vain doctrine that you have to overcome, that you're all this, that you don't need the medication, that psychology is dumb. Of so many prejudices about many things, and everything will be cast in the name of Jesus. Okay, if you're a believer and you have the name of Jesus, why does depression follows you every day? And you say, oh, I know the cure, but the cure only comes when you confess. The cure comes when you recognize. It's not enough to where you want to know where you want to go if you don't have the humility to where you are. John chapter 4, Jesus comes to Samaria and he sits over a well of Jacob, and the woman comes, and the text says she has had already 5 husbands, and the 6th is not her husband. Now answer me, he knows he have 5, and the 6th doesn't belong to her. Doesn't he know? Doesn't he know? He knows, but he looks at her, and after she is interested by the living water that he brings, and she thinks that she doesn't need to go to the well to search. She says, go give me from this living water. And Jesus tells her, bring me your husband. Didn't he know she didn't have a husband? There's things that he knows the answer, but he still asks, because it's us that need to confess. We need to recognize. We need to say, And she says, I don't have a husband. And he looks at her. You said it well. What do you mean said it well? She's just admitted that the man she's with is not hers. But for Jesus, this points to the truth. For Jesus, the beauty is not in beautiful words. For Jesus, the beauty is in the sincere confession. He said, you said it well because you said the truth. And the way of salvation that opens to her life. And the way of the calling that opens to her life. It only opens after she confesses and recognizes where she was. That's why he said, I am. Because you already had 5. And the 6th that you have now is not your husband. Now Jesus presents herself as the 7th. You know, do you understand? She already knows 6, but he only reveals the salvation, plain salvation in her life after she confesses. Everything that she searched in 6, she'll find in Jesus. Jesus sitting at that well represents the 7th man. The perfection, the plenitude. God brought people here today. And what he's saying to you is, what is perfect will come when you recognize where the imperfect is. When you confess where the immorality is. When you confess where the addiction is. When you confess where the pain is. When you confess, when you recognize where the place you are, then you see doors opening to where you want to go. Then you see roads, paved roads to where you want to go. If you understand, lift up your hands and recognize the place and say, I'm here, Jesus. I am here, Jesus. If you have a app, localization app in your cell phone, any types of GPS, you may know where you want to go. Have the address, have the number, even have the zip code. You can have the longitude, latitude of where you want to go. But if you don't have the internet connection, it cannot make the route. It can put the address of the destiny to where you want to go, to where you want to go, and you put the address, the name of the street, and it will localize. Search for signal, searching for signal. If it's written there, the place that I already said, because I know where I want to go, why don't I go there? Because there is no searching signal up until, if internet can define where you are, if it can define where you are, where you localize, it cannot calculate the route to where you want to go. Even though you know where you want to go. Who understands what God's saying here? Let me realize God brought you here today and he's saying this. I am searching for the signal. I have a route for you. I have a way that nobody has gone. A door that nobody saw. A direction that nobody knows. A place of escape. You search for in councils what only I have. You search amongst friends what only I can do. And God is saying, I have the route, I have the way. I am better than the blue maps. And why? Because it gives the time of getting there. But if the traffic changes, the time changes. If the traffic changes, the time changes. Then God is saying, I'll give you a way that you'll get to the day and the time that I determine. Independently of what is in the way, but it's time for you to recognize where you are. The greatest problem of people is not getting where they want to go, is not to recognize where they are now.